Hi, my name is Sylvie. I help women feel great and lose weight through fasting and whole food nutrition. And as you know, I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. Most of my videos are about intermittent fasting and modified fasting. I was able to completely turn my health around using the techniques that I talk about in my videos. And that's why I'm so excited to share about them. However, that's not to say that intermittent fasting and fasting in general don't come with any risks at all. And that's why I decided to create today's video, which is entitled, "Is intermittent fasting bad for you?" So what we will do is we will look at how intermittent fasting affects your hormones, the risks that may be associated with intermittent fasting, and lastly, how you can make sure you practice intermittent fasting safely. The main mechanism behind fasting and how it affects your body is related to insulin. When you fast, your body doesn't need to produce insulin because you're not eating. Insulin is a hormone that is produced by your pancreas every time you eat. It is produced so that your body can use the glucose in your food and either convert it into energy or store it for future use. There is also another hormone that comes into play. It's called glucagon, and this hormone has a reverse function. Glucagon is also produced by your pancreas, but instead of being produced when your blood sugar is rising, it is produced when your blood sugar is low. And so what glucagon does is it causes the release of your stored glucose or glycogen, and it also stimulates the breakdown of fats and the release of ketones. That is how fasting helps induce ketosis. Another function of glucagon is to stimulate satiety and reduce appetite. So by enable you to use your fat stores for energy, fasting helps you become more metabolically flexible, and by being able to use different forms of energy, your body is able to adapt to stress easier. And also you'll find that when your body starts using fat for energy, you'll feel more energetic, you'll have more focus, and again, you'll find that you have less food cravings, so you will be able to reach your goal weight without even trying as much. You won't have to focus on calories, you won't have to feel deprived all the time or obsess over food. And that is why intermittent fasting has done so much for so many people. But even then, it's not to say that there's absolutely no risks associated with intermittent fasting. And one of the main problems that can be related to intermittent fasting or fasting in general is that fasting stimulates the release of stress hormones like cortisol. Cortisol has many health benefits. It helps burn fat, it reduces inflammation. But an excess of cortisol may suppress the immune system, contribute to insulin resistance, and also thyroid dysfunction. Just keep in mind that causing stress within your body for short periods of time is actually healthy. That's what exercise does. Exercise is a short-term stress on your body, but then your body gains strength as it overcomes that stress. And the same thing goes for fasting. So having short-term stress can be healthy. But again, it's all about being careful about how you implement your fasting and also making sure you listen to your body. There's also other risks that may be associated to intermittent fasting that I want to mention. For example, disordered eating. Obviously, if you have any history of disordered eating, intermittent fasting is not for you. Having this type of relationship where you tend to deprive yourself from food or binge eat is certainly a risk factor, and I would not encourage you to practice intermittent fasting if that's you, because it could be a trigger. Another risk is dehydration. Some people forget to drink when they're not eating. So if you practice intermittent fasting, it's very important that you make sure that you drink enough water It is typically recommended that you drink half your weight in ounces each day. Another side effect that may be associated with intermittent fasting is fatigue. Some people may not get enough minerals and vitamins when they practice intermittent fasting, and they may experience fatigue. The reason for that is not focusing on nutrient-dense food when you're eating. So obviously that is something that's really important. So how can you make sure that you practice intermittent fasting safely? My number one tip is that you make sure you are listening to your body. When you are just starting to practice intermittent fasting, you're kind of learning to tune out your body in a way, because you feel hungry and you have to ignore that hunger and keep fasting. However, when you become fat adapted, which means that again your body learns to use your fat stores for energy, what you will notice is that the hunger doesn't affect you the same way. You may have a bit of discomfort in your belly, feel that hunger a little bit, but you won't mind it. It won't bother you. And that's when you may start learning to differentiate between the cues that your body is sending you. So now it's not just about ignoring the hunger signals, but it's about learning to tell the difference between different hunger signals. So sometimes you'll notice that your hunger doesn't bother you, and you feel great and you just keep fasting, right? But with practice, some days you'll feel different and the hunger will really bother you. Well, then you eat. You may just decide to eat one avocado, a tablespoon of coconut oil, or just a regular meal and stop your fast. Or sometimes you may notice that you are really craving carbs. That's another thing to pay attention to. And when that happens, particularly if you're a woman, because I've talked about this before, how carbs are important for your hormonal function. And so in this situation, then you would eat some carbs, and there's many great carb options like squash, beans, fruit. You don't need to binge on muffins or something, but you should definitely listen to these signals that your body is sending you. And so that is why my number one tip for you is to listen to your body when you practice intermittent fasting. Obviously, you should listen to your body no matter what you do. But the advantage of intermittent fasting is that it teaches you to pay more attention and to learn to understand the different signals your body is sending you. I also have a few more tips to help ensure that you practice intermittent fasting safely. And for example, I would recommend that if you're new to fasting, start with a modified fast. A modified fast is the best way, in my opinion, to kickstart the process of healing, and also it helps your body become metabolically flexible before you start with intermittent fasting. And if you want more information about how to get started with a modified fast, I'll put a link in the description to help you with that. Another thing I recommend when you're just starting with intermittent fasting is that you start slowly. Just start with a 12-hour fast each day and then increase gradually. Or you can also start with some intermittent fasting methods that don't require you to be intermittent fasting every day. For example, you can do it every second day, or you can do the 5-2 method, which is only 2 days a week. You eat 500 calories. So there are many options. And start slowly, see what feels good. See how your body reacts. And so that brings me to my third tip, which is to experiment. Experiment safely. Find the right method for you by trying the different methods. When I started with intermittent fasting, I thought that intermittent fasting was just not eating breakfast. So basically eating for only 8 hours of the day and skipping breakfast. But it's so much more. There's so many other ways to practice intermittent fasting. And if you would like some guidance on finding the right method for you, I have a quiz. It's called What is Your Fasting Personality? And I'll put a link in the description below for that. Another tip that I want to talk about is make intermittent fasting a lifestyle. This is not a crash diet. And don't expect to use intermittent fasting to reach your health goals and then quit and just go back to your previous lifestyle. That's not gonna work. Any strategy to help you achieve your health goals usually involves doing it for the long haul. It's not something that it's not a band-aid solution, and you need to practice it in a way that you can enjoy it enough to do it for the rest of your life. Also, don't feel deprived. And that may sound strange. I mean, how can you not feel deprived? You're not eating, or you're not eating whatever you want whenever you want. But a lot of it is just about your mindset. When you are intermittent fasting, you don't need to count calories. You don't need to obsess over food all the time. And after your body adapts to it, you'll find that you have tremendous food freedom, and so you can learn to enjoy that. My last tip is to eat nutrient-dense food and drink enough water. I already mentioned that when I talked about the risks associated with intermittent fasting. It's important to mention these two things to make sure you practice intermittent fasting safely. You need to make sure you get all the nutrition your body needs and all the hydration your body needs to be healthy. It's just common sense, right? And before I let you go, I want to address one last question quickly. It's how long should you be fasting for? To fast safely, as I already mentioned, you should build up slowly. Pay attention to the signals that your body is sending you. Some people practice alternate day fasting, which means that you're fasting for 36 hours twice a week. And that would require some practice to get to that point, but many women experience the best results using that method. I have never fasted for more than 24 hours because I have never been able to build up to that. Some people even fast for days, and they experience tremendous health benefits from that. And that is not something I've done either, and because I don't feel that I'm there yet. I don't feel that is something I want to achieve or that I would be able to achieve. And I want you to do the same thing. After you gain some experience with intermittent fasting, and if you feel you want to push your limit further, give it a try and see how you do, see how you feel. And everybody's different. There's no black and white answer on how long you should fast. Again, it's all about making sure you pay attention to the signals your body is sending you. So, in summary, to answer the question, is fasting bad for you? Of course not. Does it have some risks associated to it? Yes. So you need to make sure you practice it safely. Fasting is not necessarily for everyone. If you have some health conditions, you may not be able to use fasting. And since I am not a health practitioner, I am a health coach, my videos are for informational purposes only. They are not meant to help you treat and cure any health condition. So I want to make sure that if you have any health condition, you should consult with your health practitioner before you attempt to practice intermittent fasting. But the most important thing is that you learn to listen to your body, as I've said so many times, and stay flexible. Don't just decide in your mind that you're going to be doing something no matter what happens. That's not how you treat your body. Whatever you do on your healing journey, you need to be able to enjoy it. You don't need more stress in your life. You don't need to feel deprived, and you need to treat yourself kindly. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.